Right, first question. Who are you and where are you from?
Thank you, George. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, church. My name is Albert, and hi, good morning, Matt and Ellen. My name is Albert, and I'm from Vanuatu.
Okay. We talk about Vanuatu, and most of people who haven't been there think of that's a little tiny island somewhere. But Vanuatu is made up of over 80 habitable islands. So be a bit more specific. Whereabouts in Vanuatu are you from?
Thank you, George. I'm from, anyone been to Vanuatu before? Yes. So I come from a small island that is 30 minutes drive away from Port Vila. If you drive to the northwest of Efate, and a small island called Lelepa Island, 10 minutes by boat.
Okay. I've been fortunate enough to go to Lelepa Island and done a tour with Albert's family around the island and learned a fair bit about that island. And it's a beautiful place. This island, is this Christian island? Is it an Adventist populated island, or does it belong to some other church organisation?
Well, the island is dominated by Presbyterian. So very strong Presbyterian influence. And there's never been any other religions on the island. And since growing up on the island from a very strong Presbyterian background, where my grandfather and my dad, my mom, were all leaders of the Presbyterian Church. And there's never been any other religions. As I said, growing up, seeing many different kinds of religions who wants to come to the island never exist.
Okay, if it's grew up on an island, Presbyterian, how did you learn about Adventists and how did you become an Adventist?
Well, when I was growing up in the church, I remember on 1989, we have a cyclone, category 4. And after the cyclone, we have the first relief that come to our island is from Adra. And then it was on a Sunday that they bring all the food and all the stuff to give to the island. After they left, I was sitting around among the elders and I heard them having a conversation. And they were saying that Adventist people, they kept the biblical Sabbath. And being, I was around 15, 16 years old at the time, and it stuck on my mind about this Adventist biblical understanding and the comments that the leaders of the church have been discussing about just after that relief from Adra. So when I was start walking in town, every Sabbath I used to work in a hotel. So I work for Holiday Inn Resort. And every Sabbath morning when I go to work, I always notice the Adventist people walking on the streets to church, fully dressed up with long shirt and neckties, from the kids to the eldest. Whereas from my upbringing, for us to go to church on Sunday, the best shirt to wear to church is a Bob Marley shirt. And that's really adding on to the comments that I heard from the ancestors. And then, when I was working in the hotel, I always go home on my day off. And one night, I actually didn't go to the island because the reason why I'm going to the island on my day off, because that time, with my age, I was on my 18 to 19 years old, and I always bring alcohol, cigarettes with me to the island and have fun with all my friends to show off because, hey, Albert's coming from down. So one night, I was not able to go to the island because I have no money to buy alcohol. And then I was strolling down the market, and I saw some Adventists. They doing a presentation at a local market, and those times they use lights, Nowadays we use projector, but those times they use lights, and they were talking about the state of the dead. But for me, growing up in a Presbyterian background, even though we claim to be Christians, our understanding on the Bible is very shallow. And we are very fearful on the island because of superstitions, sorcerers, witchcraft. So when someone dies in the village, it's because of witchcraft. And me growing up as a Christian, even though we go to church on Sundays, we still have this fear of communicating with dead people. And, when someone dies, they say it's a witchcraft, and it makes your life very scary. You're thinking you're the next online. And that night, church, I was amazed because I was standing out in the dark, and I heard them talking about the state of the dead. And that is like, for me, it was like something very interesting that I have never heard before. And that night I realized how Jesus says, if you know the truth will set you free. And then after the presentation, I come out and want to know more and learn about the Sabbath and learn about health and stop my bringing alcohol back to the island. And this time I'm going back with the truth to the island. And my friends were asking me, so Albert, how can we be happy now? So I told them, I said, okay, come, let me tell you. So I've been telling them what changes in my life, and most of them converted. And if you come to my island, it's we've been through a lot of challenges, a lot of problems from the chiefs, from the elders, even though my dad was an elder. He was a leading elder of the church at the time, of the Presbyterian Church. While I was doing Bible studies with people and going through persecution, it's a lot of story. I could write a whole book about my experience on my island, but at the moment as we're speaking, before that, because the chief stopped us from doing church activities on Leleba, so we have to worship on the mainland. And for 8 years, and they put us to the court as well because of me not listening to the chiefs. Because the chief tried to stop me from doing Bible studies or outreach. The challenge and persecution started on 1989. I think it's late 1999 when this program by Tuck Pachela, the Bible Speaks, and I brought this set of videos and set up a screen to open up a night meeting weekly. That's when the persecution started. The police have to come to the island. They have to stop us from doing the meetings because it's not for safety. They throw rocks to my house and destroy the setups that I have in front of my house. And the police said, Albert, for your safety, don't do anything. My whole family, that all night, they were crying and shedding tears because of the words they used, the banners they write on the road. And my mom and 2 sisters, because in my mom's side, there's 5 boys. And my auntie, they have 5 boys as well. So when I'm talking about me going back to the island with toxic stuff, you're talking about how many? 20 cousins getting together, drinking, causing troubles. That night, at the net 99, all of them decided to become Adventist just to share the problem with me. Even though we don't do any series of the meeting for Tak Pachola, all my family was converted. Then we start doing church on the mainland for 8 years until the Supreme Court of Vanuatu make a decision that the chiefs of the island cannot go against our rights of freedom of belief. And then after 8 years, we moved back to Lelepa Island, and the church on the mainland has already grown with lots of members, and we organized that church on the mainland, and we moved to the island. And this year, end of this year, we will be organizing the church on Lelepa Church. So in the midst of these tribulations, we were praying and asked God to rescue us immediately, but God was patient, and now as we look back, it's 25 years now. When we look back on how God answered our prayers, is He allowed those tribulations so that He could raise 2 churches.
Okay, that was a long answer. I've got to remind you, answer to these questions, if you take a long time, it takes out of your sermon time. Okay? Right. Thanks for that. How long have you been in Australia and why did you come? I've asked you this question personally, but you can tell me. A few months ago I asked you this.
Thank you. Yes, since I heard about the truth from day one, I've never been silent about it, like I said. I've been excited to tell people and involving in a lot of mission back home, voluntarily. I actually went to a lot of mission trips. I went to Mongolia in the Gobi Desert. And I was thinking and I was praying. I said, God, I think I have done enough for Vanuatu. I want to serve you somewhere you needed me the most. So I was thinking to learn Mongolian language and go back to the Gobi Desert. Because when I was in Mongolia, in the Gobi Desert, they've never seen a black man before. And everyone were calling each other and pointing at me, and I was, feeling a bit funny because on my island, when we have tourists coming to the island, we always tease them that we like to eat white men. And we prefer white man meat. It's like venison. So when the Mongolian were, I got because I always have my hair short, and I realized that Michael Jordan was popular in Mongolia because that's thing. So anyway, they invited me to play basketball with them, and then I was thinking, okay, I've never played basketball before, but yeah. So anyway, it was a very good time. The kids want to feel my skin, so I see that as a good opportunity to go back to Mongolia and do ministry because of my color, and also a black man speaking the language will make a big impact. But then it was not possible. And then 2014, I decided to come to Arise. When I saw, because I've learned about Arise when I went to AYC in 2009 in Sydney, and David Ashrick was the speaker. And he was promoting Arise in the United States. I went to South Africa on the 2013 World Youth Conference in Pretoria. David Ashrick was the speaker again, and he was promoting Arise. And I was really convicted that I want to go to Arise to get some Bible lay training. Anyway, it didn't happen because I got married. I have 3 kids and twin girls and 1 son, 1 year apart. And it's impossible for me to go until 2013. I saw Arise on the record advertisement. I prayed about it for 1 week. I said, God, I really want to equip myself with the knowledge of your word. I always want to go to Arise. I know it will be impossible because my wife won't allow me, because we've got twin girls. Son, they're 1 year apart. My daughter was 3 and my son was 4 at the time. It's like raising 3 kids, 3 babies. And I know it will be a big no. I prayed about it for 1 week. I said, God, if it's your will for me to go to Arise, at the end of the 1 week, my wife will respond. If it's a yes, if it's a no, I know it's from you. So after Sabbath, after 1 week, I approached my wife. I said, I saw at the Arise in Australia, and she said, oh, I think it's good for you. You're very passionate about ministry, you want to do that. So she managed the 3 kids while I come to Kingscliff for 3 months. And I was doing a Arise training, and then I was doing my practicum in Wollomba for 6 months. I prayed, I said, God, if it's your will that you need me in Australia, I pray you give me 1 soul. I knocked on this house during my 6 months, and it was Jenny Baton. And she opened the door, and she was looking like this, and then I introduced myself as a missionary from Vanuatu. She opened the door and she gave me a big hug, and she said, my name is Jenny Baton. My great-great-great-grandfather was John G. Baton, who sailed to Vanuatu from Scotland in the 1800s and converted cannibals. The time we said tears of joy because I come from a Presbyterian background, and John G. Baton was well known. My grandfather have a historical book that she ran inside the house, a room, bring me the same historical book that my grandfather used to have. And then she started sharing this. She said, Albert, I raised up in a very strong Presbyterian background, been to Presbyterian college. When I turned 20, I stopped going to church. Now I'm 54, and I knew that God sent you just to come to Wollomba to rescue me. We did Bible studies, very just connected. I wish I could bring Jenny here one day. She will say a testimony. She got baptized after my practicum in Wollomba. So from that time, I knew God needed me in Australia. I moved from Wollomba to Newcastle Multicultural, was there for 3 years. I was asked to go to Lightning Ridge, which I will talk about in my sermon, and then in Buck for the last 5 years.
Okay, I'm reticent to ask you any more questions. One last one. What part of ministry do you like the most?
I love helping people, having that intimate relationship with Jesus. And because I'm so excited about Jesus and His truth, I'm also more excited to see how people have the same excitement and the same conviction as me. So, like I said, if you come to my church on my island, you will see a lot of young people my age, because they are the people that I convert and lead them to Jesus. They got the excitement themselves, and now they're running the church on my island as elders, deacons. And just, I got lots of experience. Maxine and Mark are my baptism candidates that I baptized them in Newcastle 5 years ago before I leave to Buck. And they're still laughing that ignite of the Holy Spirit in them. And just recently, last year, one of my candidates, his name is Robert Kelly. He was on a Bible study and was going through baptismal class with me to prepare him for baptism. He got a minor heart attack. So they have to flew him to Tabo. And then after that, they put him on a list. And he was expected to be on his treatment maybe the next 12 months or more. Anyway, when we prepared him for his baptism after he got back from Tabo, I encouraged him. I said, look, your journey, your decision, you will experience and encounter God in a different way altogether you have experienced ever before. And after his baptism, he was called to be on the following week for his surgery in Orange. That is beyond expectation now. And Robert was telling me, wow, Albert, it's funny because I was on the list and now they're calling me to go to Orange. And I said, well, I told you before, that is what you're experiencing. He went to Orange, they dress him up, they lie him on the bed at the theater, and they screening him. And on the screen, and they saw him, they say, hey, Robert, your artery is all cleared. Dress up and go home. So he dressed up and he walked out from the theater. He called me straight away. He went to Orange. He tell everyone in Orange. He come to Berkeley. He tell all his family about what God has done for him. And he's still telling people.
I'm not going to ask you any more questions. You better go and sit down. I won't have time for the sermon. Thank you, Albert. On my program it says, this little section we've just gone, getting to know the preacher. I think we've got to know a fair bit about Albert in that little short time. Thank you, Albert.